What's up, you guys? So I know I really shouldn't be excited for a shoe like this, but I'll be honest with you, I think this is a commonly overlooked shoe if you're looking for a really, really good runner, and it's definitely under $100. I mean, you can find this everywhere for, $79, sometimes even less than that. And it is a new shoe. It's new to this year, but I am actually surprised with how comfortable this shoe really is. And if you know me, and I haven't really explained this, but my favorite shoe that I ever used when I started running was the Nike Winflo 5s. That's the shoe that really got me going. My first pair of shoes was a pair of Nike Downshifter 7s. I really started with a pair of Asics, just like, a really cheap pair of Asics that I actually had for a really long period of time. And I quickly learned that those shoes just weren't cutting it for me. So I quickly upgraded to a pair of Nike Downshifter 7s. This was about 2 years ago, and then after I did the Downshifter 7s, and they lasted about 3 to 4 months of use before I really just wore them out. I mean, I was running at like 250, 260 pounds. I mean, I was definitely overweight, definitely out of shape, and I had no technique for running. So I was using them kind of intermittently between running and walking. So that's kind of how I started. My second pair of shoes is what really kicked me into gear, and that was the Nike Winflo 5s. And if you don't know about the Winflo 5s, they're 2 years old, they're 2 generations out, but there was, they had a air zoom unit in the heel of the shoe, while it was also using the Cushlon foam underneath as its midsole. That was the same Cushlon foam that was being used in the Pegasus 35s at the time. And the only difference really is the stack height of it was not as high as the Pegasus. And the Pegasus also had an air zoom unit throughout the entire shoe. It was from the toe to the heel was just one air zoom unit plus the Cushlon foam. And that's what made the Pegasus 35 just that much better than the Winflo model. But the Winflo model was just so super comfortable. It was built as a long distance runner to be incredibly durable. So it had a really durable underneath, and that foam was just really good. But it only had the air zoom unit in the heel, which made it good if you were a heel striker. So it absorbed a lot of impact, and it provided a lot of energy return to push you forward. And that EVA Cushlon foam that Nike was using did an excellent job to absorb impacts, and that's really what pushed me to start running mile after mile after mile. I went from the Downshifters, which were really only 1.5 miles, maybe 2 mile shoes, to the Winflo 5s that I was running 7-8 miles in those shoes a day, without even batting an eye, so they were just such good shoes. And then I upgraded to the Pegasus, and everything kind of exploded from there. So now here I am with the latest iteration of the Winflo model. This is the Winflo 7 that is out now. It is a 2020 model, and what makes this special from the Winflo 6, which I never got to use, I never got to run in that shoe because I just upgraded to the Pegasus and went from there with the Pegasus model. But this has the air zoom units in the forefoot and in the heel to provide really nice, comfortable cushion for mile after mile after mile. It's got, unfortunately, this is not running React foam. This is running the older Cushlon foam, still running the old Cushlon foam in the midsole, but it is a much higher stack height than what the old version was. You got the nice heel counter right here to provide really good return, especially to not provide as much impact on your Achilles heel. And it's just a really, really good shoe. And it's super squishy. You can feel it just in the way that it feels. It's just, it's a really comfortable shoe underneath. But let's get into this shoe and what really excites me about it. So right out of the box, what I noticed is the upper here is not really stiff, which means it's nice and thin and breathable and whatnot. And I did take this on a little bit of a test run to kind of get a feel for it. It's only about really just a half a mile test run. And I've already ran a 5 mile this morning in a different, in my Pegasus 37s. So a half mile kind of gives me an idea, especially when I'm already worn down, what it's going to feel like maybe later on in a run. So I did do a test run in it, and the shoe is incredibly comfortable. It's got a really nice toe box area, so you can really spread your toes out. And it's got a really nice landing area that's nice and wide, so you don't have to worry about, stability, I guess you could say, in your landing zone. That being said, the upper, it doesn't have any of the like the Pegasus where it has the bands that really lock down your foot. It really relies on just this, what's the best way to describe it? Just kind of an upgraded plastic right here to increase its durability, and that just kind of goes all the way up the foot, but it doesn't have the bands, which the fives, the Winflo fives did have those bands that the Pegasus used. It had almost the same system, lockdown system as the Pegasus. This does not have that anymore, and it's kind of maybe a good thing, maybe a bit of a bad thing, I'm not too sure. But it did provide some pretty good lockdown when I laced them up and I tied them down. I didn't feel like my heel was coming out of the shoe, which is good. It's got some decent padding on the back here. It does have some stability. It's not, you're not pushing that, down. So it does have a nice heel clip right back here to give you some stability in the heel. And the inside is, yeah, okay. So the insole on it is relatively thick and padded, and you can definitely tell that it's made with good quality, so I'll give it that. It does kind of have a little bit of that booty feel to it as the tongue goes down into the shoe. It's about maybe a quarter to a halfway down the tongue is where it kind of connects with the shoe and has a nice elastic booty type of feel. So I really like that. The shoelaces are nice, and overall I actually like the design of the shoe itself. I think that's a really kind of stylish shoe here. So the upper is just it's nice. It's I want to say loosey goosey a little bit. It's flexible, it's breathable, it's not thick, it's not, but we'll see how durable that is compared to the Pegasus 35s. Obviously as time goes on, we'll see what that compares itself to. It does carry a lot of design cues from the, if I remember correctly, I want to say this is the Vaporfly that Nike came out with about a year, maybe 2 years ago. There's a lot of design cues here that is very similar to the Vaporfly, but obviously in a much less expensive package. So the upper is really, really comfortable. I mean, just putting this on my foot felt really good. The midsole, you can feel, at least I could feel a difference between the front and the back. Like I could feel where the two airbags might be, and there's a little bit extra foam right in the middle, right where your arch is, to provide a little bit extra arch support while you're going out for your run. The little test run that I did, I actually felt like that helped. I felt like my stride was really good. It just kind of was gliding along. It just felt really good. I wouldn't say it's a fast shoe. It provides a little bit of pop, but I wouldn't put this in where I would say it's a fast shoe, but I would definitely say if you're a long runner, which is what this is aimed for, this is aimed to be a long distance running shoe. I would say that this is definitely a really good, comfortable ride that you would have, on a long distance run. So eventually I'll get there with these shoes. I want to kind of get my foot molded or the shoe molded to my foot a little bit better before I really start pushing the limits on this thing. But I mean, overall, it's a really good shoe. I like the way that it's constructed all around. And then when we go to the underside of it, lots of tread here. Okay, nice heel striker area that's right on the outside heel area of the foot. Nice, pretty thick too. I mean, you can see how thick that is. Even the rubber up here is pretty thick. Carries that rib that goes right on the outside of the foot. And then in the toe area, I mean, nice thick blocks right here of treading. This is definitely, I would say, more of a road runner type of shoe, where I feel like the Pegasus, the 37s, I feel like you could probably go light trail on those, even though they're not a trail running shoe, but I think you could go like a light trail on them and be okay. This one definitely seems like it's more aimed for a road running type of shoe. That being said, I mean, plenty of rubber underneath, and surprisingly enough, it's a pretty light shoe. It's really not as heavy as I thought it was going to be. It does say on here, is it engineered for speed, designed by athletes. I don't know if I would say that this is a speed running shoe, but I could see, you know, with the pop that this thing has, you could pick up the pace if you wanted to in this shoe. But the best thing about this shoe is that it is under $100. That is what has always gotten me about the Winflo models, is how does it compare to some of the higher model shoes. So eventually, when I get some miles in, I'm going to report back when I get some miles in on this, and I want to actually compare this. Maybe after like 20 miles, I'll do it that way. Maybe after 20 miles, I want to see how this shoe compares to, let's say, the Peg 37s. Or the React Miler. Actually, you know what? Let's do both. Let's see how in 20 miles on these shoes, which usually for me as an average guy, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a marathon runner. I'm not a professional runner. I'm just an average guy that goes out for runs. I'm going to say let's do 20 miles. I've already done 25 miles on my Peg 37s and the same on my React Milers. So I already know what those feel like after 20 something miles. I'll put let's do 20 to 25 miles on these and see how these do in 20 to 25 miles. I'll give you a report back on what the wear looks like, how the comfort level is after 25 miles, and also how it compares to the Peg 37s and the React Milers. But I can already tell you, just on that test run, I was very impressed with it. I felt like I was just gliding on air with these things. They were just so super comfortable. And like I said, I already did a 5-mile run this morning. My body's already kind of broken down a little bit. My knees are a little worn, and I've been walking all day. I went to the park with my daughter. So I'm already a little worn, and I was able to, go for a half mile, which is like one lap around the block in my neighborhood, in these shoes. And honestly, I felt great afterwards. I didn't feel any discomfort, so on and so forth. It just felt like a really comfortable run. So, like I said, we'll report back with this, but I have a good feeling about these shoes. I loved my Winflo 5s, and now I got the Winflo 7s. I don't know if these are going to be my go-to shoe like those Winflo 5s became, but I'm definitely going to give them a shot because I was seriously impressed with these shoes. So we're going to report back, but this is the Nike Winflo 5. I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, under $100, it's a killer deal for a really good, I feel like this is a really good constructed shoe and super comfortable. So again, we'll report back, and as always, enjoy the run.